there folks, it's Linda. I painted these first few pages in July, but got a bit distracted. I want to return to the sketchbook and maybe have it completed for Inktober. I got the idea of keeping a sketchbook of the size for automatic painting from watching a video by Jana Lyon, who is also on YouTube. I'll leave a link to the video where she flips through a few of the pages in her sketchbook. While going through my own sketchbook, I wanted to share some of the techniques I employed, which might be a good way to warm up for, just a day of creativity. I guess the first obstacle to getting started with automatic painting is deciding on what the first mark will be. There's something very peaceful and balanced about a blank surface. When you make a first mark, you take it out of its balance, so that after that first mark, it's a matter of bringing it back into balance. To get started, I simply had in mind a subject that could be represented in a very abstract way. For the first page, I simply thought of a mountain. I don't have to hold myself to the initial idea. It's just a way to put down a first mark. The first thing I tried in terms of technique was painting the subject with water so the ink wouldn't flow beyond the surface that had been painted with water. This created a hard line where the subject ended and the background began. When I thought the ink was mostly dry, which was pretty quick, I wet the page again with water. The ink lifted just a little, and that's okay. It's an automatic painting, so I kind of welcome those little surprises along the way. I used a different blue, this time Winsor & Newton's blue, which was different enough to tell the two mountains apart. And then after that, I was responding to what was already on the page. For example, with everything being on the lower right-hand side, I needed to balance it with something on the left. And then that made the top of the page feel empty. I also noticed that because I was painting wet on wet, the ink was drying very soft and blurry, which I eventually realized was a great way to begin a painting. Once I had a first layer which had all dried blurry, I responded very naturally by emphasizing certain areas that made me think, wow, I wish, that line or blob or something had dried a little more dark. This has been a great way to get to know my materials. I learn a lot by just playing around. I think it can be told and even shown how to do things, but nothing takes the place of actual practice. I've seen in other videos, of course on YouTube, how others will begin with a soft first layer before adding more detail, and how this is a common approach to all paintings. But now I can appreciate why, and that is that with more water, you can run the risk of lifting what's already on the page. Once the surface is dry, you can glaze over those areas.